We're on, guys. Look at that.
We're back.
Hey.
Spread it around.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Spread, NESN.com's football picks podcast, where we spend copious amount of times trying to predict winners from NFL football games against the spread.
Yes.
I'm NESN.com's Mike Cole. That's Ricky Doyle. That's Andre Kachaturian.
It's kind of depressing when you put it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's okay. No, but like someday we're gonna look back when we're on our deathbeds and just be like, think of how much time I spent agonizing over the
out of the
0-4 Giants versus the 0-4 Chargers.
I'm like Vance Joseph. I'm having the time of my life right now, guys. I don't know about you. This is great. I like picking games.
All right.
Let's look at the standings from last week.
Let's
do
get
it.
into the standings. Yeah.
All right, Mike. Last week
Pretty,
you led the way
mediocre.
with an 8-8 record. Very good. You moved into second place. Look at you with 30-31-1. Meanwhile, Ricky and I 7-9, and we're very thankful that the Chiefs pulled off that backdoor cover, or else we were going to be 6-10, and that would have just been ugly. That would have been just been ugly.
How about that play too? Think of how much crap changed with just that one touchdown.
Yeah,
Just the over-under.
The over-under. And imagine
Fantasy football.
you had,
Fantasy realm.
Survivor pools.
Survivor pools.
Said if you had football squares,
I don't
and
know
maybe
about
your
survivor
local
pools.
watering
Against
hole.
the spread survivor pool.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you never know.
But squares. Imagine people had Monday Night Football squares.
And then not only that, but imagine if you're sitting there with 0-0 and you think, wow, it scored a touchdown, I'm going to back my way into this, and then they take the knee on the extra point. That screws you over.
Yeah.
That's an all-around whirlwind. But
Yes. Well, that was last week. We're forward-thinking, gentlemen. Let's look into Week 5 now. We got a fantastic matchup between NFC West rivals.
We're doing really well, though.
What?
I mean, you want to
we're all 500. It's good.
Yeah, unbelievable. So
fantastic.
Let's get into it. Actually, before we'd be remiss, I know it's like cheesy or whatever, but I don't know, thoughts and prayers or whatever. Bummer what happened in Las Vegas. I know we kind of have like a gambling undertone of this, and we've all been out to Vegas. You're going to Vegas pretty quick.
yeah, I'm going on Friday, so it's going to be kind of a weird time to go, but
yeah, sucky situation, but hopefully we can kind of provide some levity here, or whatever the word is, and
normalcy.
Get away from right. So I'll tell you what, I'd be like, I wouldn't mind all things keep being equal. I'd like to be in a sports book right now. So let's get into our picks for the week. We're going to do three of the biggest games of the week. Then we'll get into some locks and some upsets. We'll start with a NFC West matchup. And again, this is one of the better examples of how upside down the NFL world is right now. As always, we're using lines from oddshark.com. They have, as it stands right now, the Los Angeles Rams, I almost said St. Louis, as 1-point favorites at home against the Seattle Seahawks. I probably should look this up on the OddsShark database, but I can't even tell you the last time the Rams or the Seahawks Rams were favored against the Seahawks. Just a wild situation. Man, I don't even know where to start. Ricky, why don't you kick it off?
I'm going to take the Rams in this one.
Here we go.
They always seem to play Seattle tough, and that was when the Rams weren't very good.
Yeah.
Now what we've seen is they are a pretty good football team, and I mean, I know a lot of people, particularly in the Northwest, probably want to point to last week and say that maybe that was a turning around for the Seahawks, who've just kind of had issues on both sides of the ball at times this year, but I'll tell you, their wins really haven't done much for them.
Congratulations, you beat the hell out of the Colts.
Even after kicking
And
the crap out of the
like
Colts.
3 quarters to turn it on.
They were they were hitting the snooze button for the first half of that game on offense. So really, that win didn't do a whole lot for me. Meanwhile, like the Rams back-to-back road wins. So obviously much more impressive there. And also the Seahawks injuries starting to pile up. They come out of that game as even though they just steamrolled the Colts. A lot of injuries there. You look at Cliff Averill out indefinitely. Chris Carson was the one guy that kind of gave him something on the ground. He's done for the season. They lost their offensive lines even more banged up than it already was. I mean, that's a pretty garbage unit to begin with. So I just think everything's pointing in the Rams' favor right here. And this is kind of a chop down the Seahawks' size a little bit.
I agree with you, Ricky. I'm going to go with the Rams. You look at Seattle's only 2 wins coming against San Francisco and Indianapolis. You would think that an historically elite defense like that, if they play those 2 teams, they would be maybe in the top 10 in defense, maybe top 5. But no, they're 16th in yards allowed per play. It's middle of the pack, and that's against San Francisco and Indianapolis, 2 horrific offenses. And you look at the Rams, they're number 1 in yards per play right now, one of the best offenses in the league. And here's another interesting thing. The Seahawks, they have the league's worst drive start. They start on their own 23. The Rams, they have the league's best drive start position. They start on their own 34. So something going on in the special teams there with the Rams.
Control the field a little
Johnny
bit.
Hecker.
Yeah, Johnny Hecker, best. Yeah, well,
It's a weapon.
It's going to be big. adding to Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. They'll pin them back, and Rams third in the NFL in sacks. The Seahawks offensive line, we always talk about how bad they are. So
Seahawks banged up, like Ricky said. I think that Chris Carson injury is a big one. I don't believe in whatever his face is, McKissick or whatever. It's like, break off one big play. It kind of just pads the
how many
numbers.
running backs they have? Lacey, Rawls.
None of them are good.
How many do they carry?
Yeah.
Seriously, they got about 19 running backs on their roster.
I'm taking the
Bunch of
Rams
scrubs.
as well. Like I said, the injuries thing. I think the Carson thing. He's been okay for them. You take that away, you kind of put Russell Wilson in a position to have to throw the ball more. Like we said, that offensive line stinks. Russell Wilson's been sacked 10 times this season. And going back 10 games in his career against the Rams, he's been sacked 39 times. And there's a couple of games in there where he's been sacked 6 times. They always seem to play him tough. I think this is obviously the best Rams team we've seen in a long time. I think Todd Gurley, big game. He's kind of taking the next step in his career. He averaged 5.6 yards per touch last week, whether it was a rush or reception. So game-changing talent on the offensive side. I think Sean McVay's done a really good job in terms of getting that offense going in the right direction. It really proves to you how bad Jeff Fisher was, because not a lot has changed from that team year over year, especially from last year to this year. I mean, sure, Goff has kind of gotten a little bit better in his second season, but man, that's there's some weapons there that they had that they couldn't do a whole lot with under Fisher. So good job by the Rams. I hope the Rams win this game, because I like seeing this team kind of take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, in Seattle, you can beat them on the ground too. And last week, the Colts, they have no rushing attack going into that, no rushing attack whatsoever. So I mean, this is a week where now all of a sudden the matchup kind of shifts in the
third
opponent's
most
favor.
yards allowed to play on the ground.
Also, I want to see a little bit more from the Rams defense. I think this might be the week. Aaron Donald last week was highest graded interior defender according to Pro Football Focus. So it seems like he was shaking off some rust a little bit from that contract situation.
And you still got, Bum Phillips is trying to figure out what they're going to do defensively there. I think they're going to hit their He goes by Bum.
This is his father.
He doesn't. Oh, son of Bum. Excuse me. Yeah.
Son of Bum.
Excuse me. That's on me. That's on me.
The old Bum sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Those are
Oh,
sick.
Jesus. Wasn't it like Bugle Bully type?
Yeah, the old Bum. Bum and Umbro. Umbro.
I'm too young for that.
Yeah, no. The old whippersnapper.
So all that being said, this probably is some sort of trap, because I don't know if we can live in a world where
I feel like the rest of the world
Rams
hasn't caught up on the Rams yet. I feel like people look at them the way they view the Buffalo Bills being 3-1, because I don't think the Bills are a very good team.
Yeah, there's
I know you're high on the Bills.
Handful of teams this week that it's like, I think the public's starting to catch up on them, which is always when things start to go a little sideways. I think the Rams are getting there, but
If the Rams win this week, then they'll be like,
right, yeah.
then you stay away from it.
All right.
Anyway.
Another big NFC matchup.
This is the Mike Cole Andre Kachaturian battle.
A lot of playoff implications for this.
And now I gotta step in. I gotta intervene this one.
You gotta be maybe mediate here. You guys might want to switch sides.
Fighting out of the blue corner.
After my decisive victory last week, I'm a little laid back this week. But the Green Bay Packers.
Dean. Bring it in for show and tell.
Packers head to Dallas, take on the Cowboys. Cowboys, I should double check this on OddsShark. I want to get the up to the minute line. It was 2 points. Is it still 2 points? Let me look it up. Yes, the Cowboys are favored by 2 points against the Packers. This game in Arlington.
Might want to check the lines going up to game time too. A lot of weirdness going on this week with quarterbacks
and that's what
and stuff.
and there's weird things like this Rams line. I think is going to change at a certain point. I think this Packers Cowboys line changes. I think it's closer to pick 'em by the time the game starts. But that's just my opinion. You got two teams that are very public heavy. The public loves to back both of these teams, so I'm not sure what that means for a line change. I still think it goes down a little bit. But Andre, why don't you start it?
Look, I was not very confident at first, but I'm going to stick with the Cowboys. Mostly because David Irving is returning to the lineup from a suspension. Cowboys already have one of the best pass rushers in the league, in DeMarcus Lawrence, leads the NFL in sacks, and Green Bay has allowed the 4th most sacks in the NFL. You throw David Irving in there, he's going to put on some pressure on Aaron Rodgers as well. And I think the battle of the trenches is going to be a big one. We all know how good the Cowboys' offensive line is. And basically, it's going to come down to Ezekiel Elliott controlling the clock, keeping the ball away from Aaron Rodgers' hands. And I think he'll be able to do that. I'm going to take it's only a 2-point spread. It's basically almost a pick 'em. Almost, kind of, basically almost. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. All this talk about how bad the Cowboys' defense is, I'm not buying into it. Their pass rush is
You
great.
were the one saying that.
I know, yeah. What was I saying? What was I saying?
That's a weekly battle that we fight.
Yeah, I'm slowly buying into the Cowboys. Their loss last week to the Rams. The Rams are a good team. There's nothing to be ashamed about losing to the LA Rams.
At home against the Rams, I think there's
no. There's nothing. They
in October
held the
or
Rams.
September.
One of the best offenses to just 2 touchdowns. Everything else was Greg Zerline kicking it from 70 yards away.
Dominant kicking performance, huh?
It was the greatest
How
kicking
about
performance
that?
in NFL history.
A well-rested kicker.
7
the
field
dominance
goals.
of a well-rested kicker.
They got 3 touchdowns from 7 field goals. If Mason Crosby's out there kicking field goals, good for him.
Well, ask Skip Bayless about that. But yeah. They had a ton of
I don't know.
yards.
I'm going the other way with this. If you want to give me the Packers and give me a couple points to boot, I'm all right with that. And a lot of this is kind of an eye test. I mean, the running game, you're right, it's still there. Ezekiel Elliott, another good game last week. That offensive line, as much has been made of it. But I don't know. I'm not seeing quite the level of dominance that we saw from that unit last year. I mean, last year they basically would just run it down your throats and then control the clock the rest of the game. I think it's pretty telling so far. Last season, they were 3rd in the league in time of possession. Right now, they're at 23rd. This is the Cowboys. So, I don't know. They're just not that formula that worked so well last year.
The Packers going to run with.
Not really seeing.
Aaron Jones?
Why not?
Yeah?
Looked pretty good in his short stint.
What?
You know
He looked pretty good. What, a 10-yard touchdown? The guy looks good?
I mean, there's a reason you draft these guys in the 4th, 5th
The guy
round.
was behind a wide receiver in the depth chart.
What do you have this? What information are you going based off of to tell me that Aaron Jones isn't good?
I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying I'd rather have
seems
Ezekiel
quite
Elliott.
clear that's what you're
Ezekiel
saying.
Elliott has a better probability of controlling the clock than Aaron Jones does.
Well,
Look at Mike Cole.
I don't care if
calculator right
No,
now.
he averaged 3.8
3.8
yards a
yards.
carry.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
When you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, that's
what I was gonna say.
And it's like you sit here every week.
Aaron
and
Rodgers
every
is going to get pressured by
Hey,
David
listen,
Irving
I
and
don't
DeMarcus
care if it's
Lawrence.
Andrew Jones or
You know what's
I
funny?
don't care.
Before the show started, I was telling our producer Mark, I was like, how long do you think it'll take for Mike Cole to say, quote, "You sit here every week, ... And you did it in the first 10 minutes. And I'm proud of that.
Because you do stupid things where it's like you dismiss, one thing because you have a feeling about something, and then you dismiss analytics.
You did the same thing.
But at least
You did the same thing. I read your MLB predictions of why Eduardo Rodriguez should be the number 3 pitcher, and you gave all these points. And you said, let's just ignore he gave up 6 earned runs in 6
apples and
innings.
oranges because the Red Sox don't have any other options.
we go.
Rick Porcello won the Cy Young last year.
Oh my God. Okay. We're not here to argue about baseball for starters. Are you done? I'm sorry.
What? I mean, we did have one comment last week that somebody shows up just to see you
Yeah.
guys argue. So I'm glad that we were able to get that out of the way and satisfy that desire
don't
over the
feel
first
like
few
it.
minutes of this.
It's just,
But
He's done.
I don't know. You know where I was. I like the Packers, though. You question their running game with Aaron Jones. Like I said, I don't care if it's Popeye Jones in the backfield. I'm taking them with Aaron Rodgers and
What about
company.
Popeye's son, Seth Jones?
I just think, too, this is going to be, obviously you want to keep that Packers offense off the field. You look at 3rd down numbers, which are big on 3rd down numbers over these past couple weeks. Last week it was the Raiders-Broncos that I was looking at. And the Packers, both offensively and defensively, much better team on 3rd down than the Cowboys. So I think maybe that's an area in which this game is won.
You know how you get good at 3rd down? You run the ball well and you stop the run well.
Exactly.
So that's
And
why
you
I
have
just
one
heard
of the
that
best
they're not good
quarterbacks
at
on
that.
the
So gotta give Kenny Clark's been great for the Packers on that interior offensive line. The hell's his name? Quentin Dial, the guy who's helped in the run defense. Blake Martinez taking their next step. I think the run defense is getting there. Mike Daniels could be back this week. You want to sit here and talk about the running game? Ty Montgomery might play this week, which is insane. He's got the broken ribs or whatever. Devontae Adams, who almost had his head taken off, might play this week. This could be the healthiest the Packers have been, and that doesn't even take into account that David Bakhtiari and Brian Bulaga should be back as well in their offensive line. You're getting your two starting tackles left. This offensive line is going to look as good as it's been all season. They've got the extra days of rest coming off of that Thursday night game. I feel like they held those guys out knowing they were playing the Bears. The Bears suck. You can kind of take your time with that. So I think the Packers are as healthy as they've been all season. Cowboys 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games as a home favorite of 3 points or fewer. And Rodgers plays well against the Cowboys. His last 4 games against Dallas, including the playoffs, completed 2/3 of his passes, 280 yards per game, 9 touchdowns, just 2 picks, 100.7 passer rating. And again, look at what, you can sit here and talk about how they didn't give up touchdowns last week. They gave up a ton of yardage to the Rams. A lot of that we already touched on Todd Gurley. I think if Montgomery plays, he can have a similar role.
Don't compare Montgomery to Todd Gurley.
That's it. Why? Why not?
Because one guy is better than the other.
Oh, okay. So you just can't compare guys. I'm not saying that Ty Montgomery is, but I tell you what, Aaron Rodgers is a hell of a lot better than Jared Goff. So he has, you know what I mean? It's not apples to oranges. I'm just saying they do similar things, especially catching the ball in the backfield.
I'm not very confident in my Cowboys pick, but there's also a lot of reservations.
I really don't even have, like, my feelings on this game aren't as strong as they've been in the past. This is a coin flip.
I'm very interested to see the David Irving impact because he was their best pass rusher last year.
I think we're probably going to get Sean Lee back.
Well, he banged up.
I mean, so that's pretty big. I mean, when he's absent, it's noticeable.
It is, yes.
I just think the starting tackles, I think, are the biggest thing. If the Packers get both those guys back, I like their chances this week. So, all right, switching over, AFC. This is a Sunday night game. OddsShark, as it currently stands right now, has the Chiefs as 1-point favorites going on the road to take on Houston. The Texans, I guess, credit to Andre, had the Texans start of the year looked a little dicey at first. Did you have the dice?
I have them winning the division. Yeah.
They've kind of turned it around a little bit. I still don't know what to make of them. Deshaun Watson seems like maybe one of those guys who's just going to win. It might not always look pretty. I mean, he looked good last week against Tennessee, but they just kind of ride that defense, keep him out of trouble, kind of like what the Broncos did a few years ago with Osweiler. I think he's better than Osweiler, as we've seen with the fact that the Texans look better offensively than they did when they had Osweiler. But you get the Chiefs, arguably the best team in football. 1 point spread. That's a small one. We're basically a pick 'em here for two of the best teams in the AFC, I guess we'll say. That's a weird thing
for all
to say.
intents and purposes. I think we're significantly undervaluing the Chiefs. Vegas is in this game.
Well, at the 4-0 against
on the road, I think this is
seem to indicate that.
Yeah, I mean, they've won and they've covered in their last 8 road games as well. So, I mean, I think the Chiefs are kind of a team you look at and you just, you kind of view them differently when they're playing in Kansas City because of that crowd or whatever. But I just imagine they're a pretty damn good road team. And the Texans, historically, not a good team in prime time. And I look at the Deshaun Watson factor and that, the numbers that he's put up, the numbers that offense has put up. And look, it's against the Patriots and the Titans, two teams with defensive issues. You look at last week, 5 takeaways from the Texans. You know who doesn't turn the ball over? The Kansas City Chiefs. 1 turnover all season. They take care of the football. They do that in this game. I think they win. They take care of business pretty easily. Think about the Chiefs. They can beat you in a variety of ways. Because if this thing is a, drag them out 13-10 type of game, I think they can win that way. If this thing turns into a track meet, I think that they have enough firepower on offense to win that way. That's why I think the Chiefs are so dangerous this year.
26 out of their last 30. It's unbelievable how often they win. And look, Houston is this week's overreaction team. When you almost beat the Patriots and you put up 57 points, everyone wants to put you in the Super Bowl. But look at the Chiefs. I'm going to give one stat and I'm going to drop the microphone. The Chiefs have gone up against these 4 quarterbacks this year. Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz. I think we can all agree that these guys are like top 12, top 13 quarterbacks. And they've allowed a completion percentage of 51.4% to those 4 elite quarterbacks. That's the best in the league. That blows my mind. Now this week they're going up against a rookie. Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs as well. I think a lot of this is going to come down to time of possession. Kansas City 6th in the league in time of possession. Houston 2nd. Two teams that kind of play a similar style in that way. I mean, you saw last week Titans get down 14-0, and that game was over because you're not coming out against Houston. Kansas City, on the other hand, they've been really good on the road, obviously, this season. We saw them come into New England and win that game. They've scored 21 first-quarter points combined in 2 road games. So they're not a team that's going to come out looking flat. I think they can play from ahead. If they play from ahead, this game's over. And I think, you look at a guy like Travis Kelce, he's a big factor in this game. He's you go back to that Week 1 game when go back to the Week 2. Was it Week 2, Houston and New England?
Yeah, it was Week 2.
Sure.
Week 3.
Or whatever it was.
Saints played the Patriots.
Yeah, that's right. Week 3. Rob Gronkowski had a big game against that Houston defense. They look a little susceptible to tight ends, so I think that could mean a big week for Travis Kelce. You can sit here and say go back to 2016. These two teams played in September. Travis Kelce was held to 5 receptions, 34 yards. But you know who did the yeoman's work in that game defensively? A.J. Boye. He's gone. So
he is.
And it's Romeo Crennel also. So I think Travis Kelce is a big spot for him right here to kind of step up and have a big game. Even if they try to double Travis Kelce, they still obviously have an abundance of weapons. And Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Albert Wilson's having a nice season as well. So
I like Albert Wilson.
I think there's just, like you said, I really like what you said, Ricky, in terms of like they can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, going to be that's how you have to go on the road and beat a tough defensive team like Houston. So basically it's a pick 'em. So I love the Chiefs.
Houston really, you look at some of their numbers, I think pretty skewed by last week. I mean, they pretty much played as good as you can, as
Right.
well as you could play in that situation. So, I don't know. I think they have issues out in the red zone too. I mean, Chiefs got a pretty good bend don't break type of style of defense. They'll, once you get in tight, they're not going to let you get in the end zone. Houston had some struggles in the red zone, so that could be an issue as well. I mentioned the Texans that they're historically bad on in prime time, and I wouldn't put really any stock into this because it's just a very weird factoid. But 3-21-1 against the spread in their last 25 games at night.
Wow.
Just a very random fact.
Not what you're looking for.
That I don't know.
That means the Chiefs will win.
So.
Yeah, Chiefs actually been pretty good in prime time. At least
26 of 30 wins. Wow, who does
unbelievable. I know.
Very good regular season team.
Yeah, until they get in the playoffs, then it's an issue. And then coaching becomes a bigger issue. Time management. Oh, by the way,
They're a better team this year.
Speaking of time management, Andy Reid, God bless him, helped us in the Super Contest, but kicking that field goal with like 8 seconds left, opening the door for the backdoor cover, God bless him. I love him. Looks good, too. Getting the skin.
I said Bucker.
All right, locks and upsets. Let's get through this quickly. Andre, why don't you start with
All right,
locks?
my lock is Steelers over Jaguars. It's an 8.5-point spread right now. Look, I like the Jaguars defense. It's good, but they also allow the most rushing yards per carry. Le'Veon Bell is going to have a monster week this week. I also think Antonio Brown's going to feel a little motivated. He's in the negative headlines this past week. He'll be fired up at home. Ben Roethlisberger's great at home. I've always talked about that every week. Take the Steelers.
All right, my lock, I'll take the Vikings, 3.5-point favorites over the Bears in Chicago. It's going to be the first start for Mitch Trubisky. Talking about throwing him into the fire. Just, hey, here you go. Here's the Vikings defense on Monday night. Go nuts. Vikings, number 3 run defense in the league, so there's a possibility of them making the Bears somewhat one-dimensional offensively. That doesn't bode well for your rookie quarterback. A lot of pressure in that situation, so I like the Vikings, despite losing Dalvin Cook for the season. And whatever they got going on at the quarterback position, I just think that defense is too good for Chicago to put up many points. If any.
Yeah, I like that.
My lock for the HurryUpNesson.com's other football video podcast from one of them. I took the Rams as my lock this week, so I had to scramble. And I don't not a lot of good locks this week. I think the upsets might be the pick, but if I have to take one, I'll take the Eagles, 6.5 points favorite. That kind of seems like a little banged up the Eagles team is, but nice win for them last week, going out on the road, beating the Chargers, coming back. That Cardinals team, I don't know what to make of them. I just don't think they're that very good.
Yeah, it's like
the 49ers game was
a boring team.
It's a win, sure, but they haven't looked impressive really at any point this season. Offensive line is an issue for them. And the Eagles have a pretty good pass rush. Carson Palmer's been sacked 17 times in 4 games this season. He's been sacked twice in each of the last 2 games. I think the Eagles kind of pin their ears back, kind of take away the Cardinals' big play operation and find a way. I don't know. I'm not crazy about this one, so don't take my word for this one. But I had to pick one, so
yep.
Take the Eagles. All right, upsets, Ricky.
I'm taking the Bills. They're getting 3 points against the Bengals, which I'm kind of trying to figure this one out, wrap my head around this. I'm starting to buy into the Bills a little bit here, too. You go 1 turnover so far this season. They went 15 quarters without turning the ball over. I'm all about that, as I alluded to in the Chiefs game. If you're going to protect the football, I'm all about that. The Bengals, -5 turnover differential. Only the Bears have a worse turnover differential this season. The Bills +6 turnover differential. And also the Bills took it to week 4 for them to give up a passing touchdown. So
that's insane.
Sean McDermott's got a pretty good thing going over there.
Wow.
I think they're riding a little bit of momentum. And I just think this Bills team, you get the Raiders with their, now with Derek Carr out. This is an opportunity, if I'm the Bills, to start sliding into the playoff picture a little bit here. I know it's still early, but at 3-1, it's time to start taking that a little bit.
Blows my mind how the Bengals with Andy Dalton are favorites. Anyway, my upset, piggybacking off what you just said about the Raiders and Derek Carr being injured, going with the Ravens over the Raiders. Like the Raiders, they allow a lot of yards. They used to mask that by forcing turnovers last year. Guess how many interceptions they have this year? 0 interceptions. And Joe Flacco tends to throw interceptions, but I think with E.J. Manuel playing, and I'm going to take the Ravens in this one, 2.5 points underdog.
He looked fairly decent at the end of that game, but that's one of those things where
Joe Flacco's good with the deep ball, and the Raiders allow a ton of yards, so I'm going to see a lot of deep balls this week from Flacco.
Yeah, this was a tough one too.
Where is that game, by the way? Ravens-Raiders. It's in Oakland, right?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. I'll take the Panthers, I guess. 2-point underdogs at Detroit. this whole thing with me in Detroit is going to continue, and it's going to be the death of me in terms of making myself look like an idiot. I just still don't see it. It's a team that's, they take the football away. They're tied for the most takeaways in the league, 11. 7 of that's through the interception. 4 of those are fumble recoveries. 4 fumble recoveries through 4 games is one of those things where I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't want to overreact to the fact that Carolina came into New England and just pants the Patriots. That offense looked good. Everybody's offense looks good against the Patriots right now, but Cam Newton at least looked healthy. Devin Funchess looked like a potential game-changing type of player.
Funchess, love that name.
I don't know.
Carolina gives the ball up a lot, though.
They do.
Cam Newton
and that's the thing.
Gives away interceptions like it's Christmas present.
That's the thing. This game could have been a lot uglier had they not taken.
No, but I'm saying it's Detroit who takes.
No, I know. I'm admitting that. Yeah, you're right. But again, there's only so many games this week. And again, you look at who Detroit's played this year. Arizona. We already talked about how bad they are. The Giants. Yeah. Vikings. Dalvin Cook got hurt midway through that game. He went up against Case Keenum. One team they've played all season. The Falcons. They lost that game. I don't know. I think
should have won, though.
Close game. I think there's a way that Carolina finds a way to win it late. So.
All right. Show and tell?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's cue
why don't you kick us off
music
over there?
What's that?
You want to start it up?
Yeah, I can start it off. All right. January 1956. Elvis Presley released.
Excellent.
One of the greatest songs ever made. It was called Heartbreak Hotel. Which camera? Heartbreak Hotel. Fantastic tune. Very despondent and melancholy song. Heartbreak Hotel is based in Memphis, I guess. It's on Lonely Street. So I called up the Heartbreak Hotel, did some investigative journalism. And you know what they told me? They said Philip Rivers has also checked in the room at the Heartbreak Hotel. Philip Rivers has lost 90 NFL games in his career. 90 NFL games. 28 of those 90 losses have been by 3 points or less. So much heartbreak. 28, if that seems like a lot, it's because it's the most from any active quarterback. The next on the list is Drew Brees, who's lost 20. 28 losses by 3 points or less. That's 31% of his losses. That's so many. He's just heartbroken. I feel bad for him. They're 4-point underdogs this week. I'm going to take the Chargers with the Giants. Just because it's a 4-point underdog, that means they'll probably lose by 3. Because they always lose by 3. I feel he's just a heartbroken guy. He's right there with Elvis
I'm so
Presley.
glad that you mentioned the Chargers.
Heartbreak Hotel.
So glad you mentioned the Chargers. Because, and you guys are going to yell at me probably, but when you open up an umbrella indoors, it's supposed to be bad luck. And I used to think the Chargers were just an unlucky team. You go back to last season, the injuries, a lot of, as you said, close games, close losses. But now I'm starting to come around on the idea that they're just flat out not a good football team and that they suck. It's only so long I could play the unlucky card. Dating back, Mike sat here last week and ripped in the Chargers. I like the Chargers going into the season, but at some point, you got to make your own luck. And you got to stop pulling these games out. Otherwise, you're not a good football team.
Look, some people just have bad luck.
Bad luck. You can't have bad luck for 2 seasons in a row. I'm sick of sitting there and defending the Chargers.
By 3 points or less. That's bad luck. You can't point that at Philip Rivers.
It's just, right now, it's just they're a bad team in a bad situation. They can't even get their own fans to support them at the games because of this garbage move that they have.
Yeah, it was garbage.
So, I don't know. I can't sit here and defend them anymore. Some days you just got to make your own luck.
When the team is 4-19 and one score a game since 2015, pretty soon you start believing in hexes. And I would not do that if I were you. You're going to get bad luck later on. You might get hit by a lightning bolt or something.
Yeah, this is what people said when I found this umbrella out one night. And then people around me proceeded to say, you open that inside, it's bad luck. Well, guess what?
You're going to be like Philip. Maybe Philip Rivers was doing that 20 years ago. That's why he has bad luck in close games.
You know who believes in bad luck? There's people who make excuses for Philip Rivers. Who, by the way, let me just drop something on you right now. Last season, 4th quarter, within 7 points, Philip Rivers completed 58% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Bad luck.
You want to know why they lose games late? Because he turns over the football. That's why. Let's make it a clean sweep. We're talking Chargers this week at Show and Tell. I brought the fail sticker. It says fail. It's a sticker. It says fail. It's pretty simple. That's what it is.
It's a layup.
That's very mean.
I want to talk about, well, first of all,
picking a man who has bad luck continuously.
4th quarter might as well be failed for Philip Rivers. I want to talk actually more about the fact that the Chargers moving to Los Angeles was one of the worst decisions, worst mistakes that the NFL, anybody invested in the NFL has made in a long time, and holy moly, that's saying something. They play in a 27,000 seat stadium and they're tarping off seats. Are you kidding me? It sounded like Lincoln Financial Field
The
last
tarping
week.
off seats, and the people that are actually there aren't even Chargers fans.
The Chargers come out. So, you go to a football game, right? You go to the NFL. It's like, here come the Chargers, and they blow stuff up. The guys come running out. They're cheering. Everybody's going wild. It's like, even if you root for a sucky team, it's the highlight of the afternoon, right? They got their asses booed off the field, coming onto the field before they even got their asses whooped by the Eagles last week.
That's bad luck.
Los Angeles Chargers.
What does Philip Rivers have to do with that? That's bad luck.
The Chargers are playing in the
Philip Rivers doesn't
hostile
control that.
environment.
He
of
has
Los
to play
Angeles.
through that.
I'm not talking about Philip Rivers. I'm just saying this idea, moving them to Los Angeles, was dumb. Sure, they're going to make a ton of money with the stadium, whatever they'll have. It's just, what a bad idea.
I agree with that. I agree.
You know what? People are like, they should move back to San Diego. No, keep them in Los Angeles and let it continue to be the biggest embarrassment in that league, which again is saying a lot.
Let me tell you, look, I just feel so bad for him. You gotta feel bad for him. You gotta feel bad for him.
I don't.
No.
And listen, I've sat here before and said how much I like Rivers, but at some point you lose me. You keep losing football games, and you do it. That offense.
When
it's
Elvis
like crap
Presley
last
checked
week.
into the Heartbreak Hotel, you have to feel
Week
bad
after
for him.
week, they look like
Sure,
crap.
he probably did some bad things to the woman, broke his heart. You still felt bad for him. He's broken hearted. Philip
This team
Rivers
lost
is
to the
broken-hearted.
Dolphins. Who, if you've watched the Dolphins over the last 2 weeks,
His kicker missed
How
the field goal. How is that
they're
Rivers'
playing with-
fault?
they're playing
His
with 10
kicker
guys.
missed
The
two
one
field
not
goals
playing
in
is their
late
quarterback.
situations. His kicker missed
unbelievable.
field goals in late situations. That's not Rivers' fault. And he had to play the Chiefs
this
in week
isn't a
3.
Rivers problem. It's just the Chargers in general, and he just happens to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about Rivers.
It's a whole team-wide
I'm
thing.
talking about Rivers.
Citywide,
He has to be part of
statewide
that
thing.
team. If he played on the New
League-wide
England
thing.
Patriots, he'd be a 5-time Super Bowl champion.
Get out of
They
here.
haven't won a.
I couldn't say that with a straight face. Sorry.
They have not won a football game since November of last year. So we're almost on a full year without the Chargers winning football games. So
New president and everything.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Trump is a week into.
He's riding fire trucks.
Yeah. Let's get out of here. That's the spread. NESN.com's Football Picks podcast. We'll be back next week. Short staff next week, I think. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. He's getting married.
I'll be here
When
next
you get
week.
married?
Oh, actually, I won't be here next week.
When are you getting married?
When?
Yeah. When's your wedding?
Week from Saturday. So.
I'll buy another Panera Bread.
We're out of here. See you later.
Bye.